I don't think I ever thought I'd reach that point. Something about depression kind of takes away all that common sense. So that night, yeah, headed down to the beach and decided I was going to take my own life. Like at the start of 2020, it felt like I was in, my dream job, and then COVID came along. We got dropped to 50% pay, broke up with my long-term girlfriend, which meant I had to move out of the place I called home. So only a couple months later I was made redundant from that amazing job. And yeah, everything kind of just felt like it was falling away whilst I kind of watched everyone around me succeed and achieve these amazing goals, whereas I felt like I wasn't going anywhere. Life just felt like it was too much. Felt like I removed myself from the equation, I wouldn't have these issues anymore. Not thinking, I guess, the repercussions of what it would have on the people around me. When depression takes over and that common sense is gone, everything becomes quite selfish. And it's just, yeah, about you getting away from these issues and problems, really. Lucky enough, my phone lit up, got a notification. For some reason, I just knew then I needed to reach out and try one more time. So I texted 1737 and asked for help. As I sat there on the beach, they called me back. I didn't answer for the first 2 times. On that third attempt, I thought, I've got to give this one more shot. What's the worst? I can always hang up on that phone call if I don't like it. And yeah, the lady on the other end of the phone, she pretty much saved my life that night. She helped me set goals. When I say goals, I mean like micro goals, just to help me get through the next 3 days until I could see a therapist. We started setting things in place that were quite small and achievable to give me a sense of success, which is something I probably hadn't felt like I'd had for a while. She kind of slowly started introducing things in terms of family, friends. What kind of roles do they play in my life? Mum and Dad and the family are still there, the boys are all still there. They all love me for who I am. Probably in that first stage of tackling those smaller goals, probably not many people knew where I was in terms of my mental health at that stage. So having the smaller goals that were easy to tick off by yourself and give you that self-satisfaction then and there, and it kind of helped build that snowball effect into bigger things. That shift in mindset that night, or her adjusting the way I looked at things to see the positive in life when I probably hadn't for the last few months, I guess gave me that small sense of belief that it could be better. I got the date tattooed on my hand, 7th of January 2021, and also on the other side the words that saved my life that night was what the lady said to me. What if it could turn out better than you could possibly imagine? So often we look at things with the scope of what if it could go wrong, not so much of what if it could go right. And I feel like everything at the moment seems to be going right. After my night on the beach, I was kind of just rolling through social media and I guess trying to find a way I could, effectively put out what I was going through, and just happened to come across For All the Brothers, which was, it's all about mental health, and it was kind of posting exactly what I was going through. And Zane, the guy behind it, was around the similar age and he was quite easy to connect to, and I just resonated quite well with it. For All the Brothers is, not about getting massive in the gym. It's more about being the change, breaking down that stigma that we have currently in society between, us as guys talk about what we're going through and hopefully create a bigger ripple effect. We can be that change of what's currently going on. Exercise and movement has been massive in terms of helping my mental health. They say exercise and mental health go hand in hand, especially releasing those endorphins to feel, happy at the end of a workout, and it's almost a relief some days to go to the gym. Especially when For All the Brothers put it on, it's something I can look forward to and, jump into the gym and know that I'm going to get that endorphin release and spend time with the boys. Ironman had kind of always been floating around in my brain of it'd be really cool to do that. I'd done a few marathons before and it's always kind of been what's bigger, what's scarier. Ironman was kind of always there, and then yeah, it just popped out all of a sudden, and then as soon as I said it, she was like, that's it. I was like, shit, what have I done? With having such a big goal as Ironman, you know, it was looking at breaking that big goal down into smaller goals. Also, it was vitally important having like the check-in people along that route too. Who could you go to when I was struggling with, you know, certain things? You know, swimming was a massive part and I sucked at it. So having someone I could always talk to about my swimming and things like that was awesome through the journey. Rachel came into the picture probably, you know, 7 months into my journey of Ironman training. From then, I don't think Rachel kind of maybe picked up on how intense or how much training was involved. As we got further into it, became that massive rock and support I needed, or probably that alarm clock I needed most mornings to push me out of bed to go and actually jump in the water, which, you know, I hate doing. Being in Auckland, 80% of my training felt like it was inside. And Rachel was probably one of the biggest motivators to push me, you know, back into that pain cave with, you know, the bike on the wind trainer. I've avoided it, if I'm completely honest. Probably a bit of PTSD when I look at the bike, you know, after sitting on it for 7.5 hours. It's probably the last place I want to sit leisurely now. Yeah, so Tony Jackson Scholarship is in memory of Tony Jackson. He's a 28-time Ironman finisher, which he is a Ironman New Zealand Hall of Fame legend. Yeah, the scholarship is to assist everyday people in achieving a goal which is extraordinary. Tony's motto in life was anything is possible if the mind is willing. If you are awarded the scholarship, you're given money towards training, a full-time Ironman coach, support from one of the most legendary bike mechanics in the game, and of course along with the scholarship comes Verna, Tony's wife, who is pretty much your unofficial mum through Ironman training.
Adam's application came through and said he wanted to inspire others. His goal was exactly Tony's goals. And if he was going to do what he said and use it as a tool to inspire others to help, that was what was going to make a difference. Anyway, he was chosen and selected, and then I went to Auckland and I met with him and his coach-to-be, Andrew Mackay, and we met together. And I remember meeting this personable, lovely, really nice chap. And the more we talked, the more I thought to myself, he hasn't a clue. He has no idea what he's let himself in for. He really doesn't have any idea on what training is and what Ironman is and what the actual event is. And I walked away thinking, oh, this man's got a lot to learn. But I kept up with his progress with his coach, Andrew Mackay. And Andrew and I had long discussions as to whether Adam really had formulated in his mind what this was really all about. And even on the week coming down to Ironman, the week of Ironman, a few days beforehand, I looked at Adam and he was bubbling along and looking quite confident. He had all his family around, but behind that glaze I could just see there was something there that I don't think he quite realised what he was in for.
Stepping foot on the start line was probably the most terrified I've been. So much had gone into leading into that day. Just over 2 years of training towards this and setting these goals. And it felt like everything was just building into this one big, almost felt like an eruption of, you know, emotion and everything on that day to, I guess, stand there on the start line and stare fear pretty much straight in the face and be like, what have I got myself into? You know, I had a good cry at the start, purely from being so scared of what's about to happen, and probably just the overwhelming sense of being there in this what seemed as like a long distance goal that I'd been working towards for so long. Something about the big guy being there, you know, and he kind of once again gave you that nod of like, I'm here and you can do this, was pretty special. I guess after what I'd been through and everything, you know, for him to, you know, still look at me and have that pride and sense in me was hugely motivational to get through that. There was like a rush to get in the water, like you're being hurried along by the team down there, and I think that was probably a blessing in disguise. Although I was being rushed and panicking to get in the water, it took my mind off so much of the other stuff that I had to worry about. And I'd probably only had like 30 seconds to a minute in the water before the cannon went. The first 200 metres of my swim was everything you probably didn't want to happen at the start of a race. So in those 200 metres, I'd been like punched in the head. Someone swam past and took my goggles off with their hand. You know, it kind of sent me into a bit of a panic, you know, for the kid that hates water and is surrounded by 1,100 people swimming. Yeah, it kind of took a lot to pull myself back together. You know, the words that Verna said to me and, you know, the day leading up to it was like, whatever you do, just keep going. And without being able to catch my breath, I rolled onto my back and backstroked the whole swim. So that kind of threw the initial goal or time goal out the window, and it was more about, you know, keeping moving and, you know, beating the clock effectively. Holy hell, I just swam 3.8k. I think coming out of the swim, it was something I didn't think I was going to achieve. A whole lot of that transition was processing what I had just done. And then Verna's right there with me, trying to give me a few tips and tricks. I don't think the realisation of the challenge hit me until probably, you know, lap number 2. You know, you ticked off 90k's and you're now staring down the barrel of the exact same course you've just done. After taking those 2 off, Verna's right there again with you through transition, literally talking you through it, you know, slow down, take a drink. And she was the one that whispered to me and said, hey look, straight ahead, everybody's there, you know. Yeah, I probably had to take like a deep breath after like looking at everybody and be like, cool, I've still got 42k's to go, I'll see you guys later. And probably one of the boys, Victor, he probably doesn't know how much he helped. As I turned that corner, he yelled out to me, all you have to do is stick to an 8:50 pace and you're home, brother. And that number was like cemented in my brain as I went around that corner. Just gave me like probably that goal that I couldn't process in my brain at that time. It was probably that first sense of, you're gonna do this.
Adam Sommerville, you are an Ironman. Adam Sommerville.
As you come into that finishing chute, finally seeing the finish line to this massive goal that was set 2 years ago, well, probably is the greatest thing in my life. You know, to run towards that finish line and, you know, see mum and dad on the other side to, you know, give you that medal and say, you've done it, well done. You know, for mum to give you a hug, dad to look at you and just once again give you that nod of like, I'm even more proud of you.
How proud was I that he did. I was proud for him. I was so proud for him. I was proud that he was the Tony Jackson scholar. He had carried the Tony Jackson mantle right to the finish line and gone through his demons in the day and fought them and got there.
You know, they're in Taupo, especially on the racetrack. You know, as you go past so many people, they're like, hey, that's Adam, you know, that's the Tony Jackson scholar. Or, you know, people saying thank you for everything you've done in terms of the mental health space. And for so many people to recognise it and, you know, appreciate it and resonate with it is, I guess, exactly why I wanted to share my journey, you know. How many lives could we affect through this, you know, how many people can we inspire to create amazing goals and, you know, hopefully pull some people back from darkness. The support received along the journey from my coach to Ben, to Verna, to family and friends around me, they were the pillars of strength that, you know, carried me not only to the start line but the finish. Looking back at life then to now, you know, and the big changes and what we've come through, you know, it's given me that realisation to look at how important life is and, you know, especially now, I see it as amazing as it could ever be.